and welcome to another edition of the Bastard Review. This time around, I'm going a little bit back in time to a show that was between Barely Legal and WrestlePalooza called ECW's Buffalo Invasion. This event took place on May 17th, 1997 in Buffalo, New York. Much like WrestlePalooza, we start off the night with the FBI taking on the Pitbulls. Personally, I like this match a little bit more than I like the match at WrestlePalooza. The FBI get in a lot of heelish, underhanded tactics in this match, and they really pander to the crowd. They just love getting on the FBI's case, and all three members of the team are really good at riling the crowd up. Otherwise, this match doesn't really offer much. Tracy Smothers gives Pitbull number 1 a really nice cradle side slam, but that's the only real wrestling move that stands out. The ending is pretty predictable, and it just lacks that bang to get the New York crowd ready for the rest of the show. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. After that, Balls Mahoney takes on a premiering Wild Bill. I tried to do some research on Bill, but I could find nothing at all, so I think this might have been a one-off appearance. This was by no means a good match. It was very generic. I'm glad they kept it to the ring, but there really wasn't anything of significance going on. I don't even understand why Wild Bill was on this card to begin with. He really didn't impress me much as a wrestler. He had very generic moves. It just wasn't impressive at all. I view Balls in the same light as I view Sandman. I really don't understand why they're wrestling. They have no ability, and I really don't understand how the crowd identifies with them. Thankfully, this was a short match. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. Up next, Taz takes on Spike Dudley. I don't understand why this match is happening. We're only a month out of Barely Legal. Shouldn't Taz be taking on someone like Rob Van Dam, someone who has a tie to Sabu? Because it's obvious that their feud isn't over with. I'm under the impression that Spike is here just to be fed to Taz, and that's pretty much what we get in the match. At no point during this do I think Taz might lose, and that's what makes for a very unexciting match. Very predictable, very uninteresting, and thankfully it was short as well. I'm giving this a charitable 5 out of 10. After that, Shane Douglas defends his ECW World Television title against Chris Chetti, and this is another match that is also on WrestlePalooza. Now, if you've listened to my WrestlePalooza review, this match is pretty similar to that one. It starts off pretty slow. Both men are feeling each other out. It picks up in the middle, and the ending is believable. There's some interference from Francine, and Rick Rude makes an appearance, grabbing Francine and taking her into the back. Chris Chetti does some really impressive moves. He's a really good wrestler, and it's a shame that Paul didn't use him as much as they should have. Some highlights of the match is a really nice superplex off the top ropes, and he also performs a double jump springboard moonsault. It misses Shane, and that leads to the conclusion, but what impressed me is that he was able to jump from one side of the turnbuckle to the other side on the top ropes, and then do a moonsault off it. It was just a really nice move. It would have been nice if it connected, but I'm content with the ending knowing that he gets another match a month from now. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Up next, we have a dream partner match between Raven and Tommy Dreamer. Dreamer obviously picks Terry Funk. The two of them have a lot of history together. Raven, in a surprise move, picks Stevie Richards. Now, the two of them have recently split up, with Stevie creating the BWO and kind of distancing himself from Raven. So it was really interesting when he chose Stevie. I had to question whether they'd actually work together. And for some of the match they do, but Raven also belittles Stevie. I think it's because Raven no longer has the title, and Stevie was in that three-way dance at Barely Legal, so he's probably jealous of Stevie that he's getting more of a push, and I don't think Raven even got a rematch against Terry Funk for the title. I'm really surprised that this match is actually a tag team match, and it just isn't a brawl between four men. At one point, it does become a brawl. They go outside into the audience, but then they come back into the ring, and it turns back into a tag team match. It's really kind of strange. There's some interference from Louis Spicolli, which is always a nice addition. This is just a fun match, and I really like the way it ended. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. After that, we have the Eliminators defending their ECW World Tag Team titles in a 3-way elimination match against the Gangstas and Devon and Big Dick Dudley. Now, Bubba Ray had injured his ankle previously, so therefore Big Dick was filling in for him. But that didn't stop him from getting involved in the match, and it seemed like more of a 3 versus 2 versus 2. The Eliminators and the Dudleys start off the match, and then probably about 5 to 6 minutes later, the Gangstas show up. I want to know why it seems like only in ECW, when they have 3 ways, there will be 2 people that start the match, and then the third person or the third team comes out a few minutes after the match has already begun. I don't understand why they don't just start all 3 teams or all 3 men in the match at the beginning. It's just a little thing that I've noticed. It's a little quirk of ECW. The match starts off as a regular tag team match, but eventually degrades into a melee once the Gangstas come out. It's a fun melee, though, and it's amusing to watch them beat up on each other and try to undersell each other's hits. I'm sorry, but none of these men are any good at selling each other's punches. And at some points during the match, you can see they haven't even touched each other. That being said, it's an entertaining match, and I love the way that it ends. The Eliminators perform a double elimination on both Mustafa and Big Dick Dudley. It's just really impressive. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. After that, Bill Alfonso comes down to the ring and cuts a promo on how awful the Buffalo crowd is and how they don't deserve to see RVD and Sabu in a match. And then Todd Gordon comes down and pretty much lays Bill Alfonso out. It's a great little segment. Very short, but funny. Next up, Louis Spicolli calls out Tommy Dreamer. And then we get a very unnecessary hardcore match. I really didn't like this. I thought it was, like I said, very unnecessary. We didn't need it. Tommy just had a match prior to the World Tag Team title match. I just didn't like it. It was stupid. I understand that they want to build a feud between Tommy and Louis, but if they wanted to do that, they should have had that match and forgotten about the Dream Partner match. Frankly, this would have worked better if it were on ECW Hardcore TV. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. Finally, we come to the main event. Terry Funk defends his ECW World Heavyweight title in a 4-way elimination match against Raven, Stevie Richards, and the Sandman. This is kind of a rematch from Barely Legal, and honestly, this should have been a really great match. Unfortunately, it wasn't given any time. It was probably given maybe 10 minutes, and all 4 of the men just felt like they rushed through everything. 3 of them had already been in a match already, so I could understand why they'd want to rush through this, but Paul should have just booked either this title match or the Dream Partner match. It shouldn't have been both in one night. It felt like it was too much, and because this match felt rushed, it just wasn't as special. It didn't feel special at all, and it sure as hell didn't feel like a title match. The ending was just god-awful. I'm okay with who won, but the audience was booing, and I don't understand. I guess they like Sandman better than Terry Funk. Personally, I'm glad that Terry retained his title. I'm going to give this match a charitable 5 out of 10. Overall, ECW's Buffalo Invasion is a barely just above average show. You've got a couple decent matches here, but everything else drags it down. ECW Compilist will want this for their collection, but if you're just an average wrestling fan, I can't recommend this to you. I'm giving this a charitable 6 out of 10. Thank you for listening. Please tune in again to another Bastard review when I review another wrestling DVD in my collection or anything else that crosses my path.